Is the 400 SE the best mid-fi has to offer? Well, I'll tell you for the low price of just kidding. Grab a snack, sit back and relax, cuzzo. I'm here to save the day. The journey with Hi-Fi Man beginning in 2017 has been interesting to say the least. In many ways it mirrors life, progress, the difference between those who succeed versus those who give up. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to sugarcoat it, and even despite my distaste for how the industry operates, I'm pretty sure Hi-Fi Man's heart deep down is in the right place. I say that because I've taken the journey, not the entire journey mind you, but enough to know that what I'm saying is genuinely how I feel about it. I'm honestly not too sure where we go from here. Never before have I felt like there's really no place else to take this hobby. You start to realize it's getting repetitive when you're on Odyssey LCD5 and they all look like that episode of SpongeBob where Squidward moves to Squidville and all the hundreds of houses look exactly like his. I'm sure at some point there will be a Sennheiser HT680R, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. No, Hi-Fi Man has taken a radically different approach to audio, and it's in part what makes them stand out from many other companies I've dealt with over the years. Let's take for example the planar magnetic sound. How many people do you know in real life, not inside the Matrix, who know what that is? I'd wager not very many. Should they know about it? No question. The planar sound is absolutely, without a doubt, unmistakable when you hear it for the first time. It goes beyond hearing music through an HT600. That's getting there. Go ahead and dislike this if you're a Sennheiser fanboy. Crap, I guess that would include me. Let's be honest, the HT600 sound will be mind-blowing to 99% of people. The other 1% mostly wank to pictures of themselves and enjoy the smell of their own farts. In any event, the HT600 was certainly mind-blowing to the last and only girl I've truly ever loved. Why couldn't I get that out? The smile on her face is something I won't soon forget. It was nothing like that. She said she never wanted to leave her room ever again. But we're supposed to hang out tonight. Most people have no clue that they could be cuddling up in their room with the door locked, listening to music with headphones on instead of going outside in the real world. Let me tell you, it's way better. Why meet people in person when you can just talk to them through a camera? Never mind. If the HT600 locks you in, the 400 SE throws away the key. Forever. Guess why? It's because you're too deep in that rabbit hole to come back out. It's like if you were playing Fallout 3 and went underground but never saw the light of day ever again. Ever. Would that be a bad thing? Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. If your goal is to buy gear and then talk about the next gear you're going to buy with some stranger on the internet, me, then I'd say it's certainly a good thing and that you should go for it. But don't say I didn't warn you. You'll go down that rabbit hole and you'll like it.
Hey, Doc. Hey, Doc, where are ya?
Here I am.
A lot of people talk about hearing music for the first time, but unless they've experienced the original 400i, I'm pretty sure they haven't. The 400i did that. It made music feel as if it was specifically happening for you, rather than simply existing as a recording. So imagine that for $109. That's what Hi-Fi Man is offering you. And that, my friends, is why mid-fi is officially dead. I'm sure some Sennheiser or Grado snob will have something to say about this, but I don't give a crap. The 400 SE dumps on anything and everything in the mid-fi range and below, without question. It feels like the culmination of years worth of circle jerking and arguing about crap that in the grand scheme of things means absolutely nothing. Just the thought of two people arguing about headphones makes me cringe. I feel like I need a shower or something.
Baby, baby, where did our love go? Ooh, da 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 da, baby, baby, and it hurts so bad.
Now, as good as all that sounded, there are some issues with the 400 SE which we'll get into now. Let's compare my top 3 and figure out which is most worth the purchase. Oh, hey there. Thought I lost you. As much as I enjoy the 400 SE, there's something off about the mid-range, and this has been the case now dating back to around 2017 when I first heard the headphone. As you can see from the graph, the sound signature is mostly perfect aside from that gradual decline after 1 kHz, which shows up in pretty much all Hi-Fi Man measurements. Call it the house sound or whatever, but it can be a detriment to an otherwise excellent sounding headphone. Why?
Because I said so!
No, the real reason is that it can cause music to sound kind of flat, a bit dull, and sometimes a little distant. You may get the urge to turn up the volume, and this can be kind of frustrating at times as certain songs may lack a bit of zest or zip. Now for the good. The SE treble issue apparent in older Hi-Fi Man models is certainly rectified here. The hiss and bite that so many Hi-Fi Man headphones suffered from is gone, and the bass is still textured and articulate. It doesn't slam by any means, but it's also not too rolled off and sounds pretty much just right. No mid-bass bloat, no overdone sub-bass, etc. The 400 SE is about as flat and neutral as it gets, but what about its closest competitor, the HD6XX? The 6XX was my #1 recommendation in mid-5 for quite a while, and I still wouldn't be mad if you chose this over the 400 SE. The differences are a bit subtle, but perhaps the main one is that the 6XX's mid-range sounds just about 100% correct, and doesn't suffer from the issue that we talked about with regards to the 400 SE's mids. Instead of a dip, we have some presence around 2 to 3K, which helps female vocals and guitars stand out without being too obnoxious or too dull. The other important thing to note is that the 6XX rolls off a little bit more below 40 Hz, but has a tad bit more mid-bass emphasis, which, in addition to the superior mids, can and will make it sound livelier and snappier. Before we give a final verdict, what about the K702? In all actuality, it's super hard to order these headphones 1 to 3, and I may actually shake up the rankings again. The K702 to me is just about the perfect mid-fi headphone. It's got superior sound staging capabilities over the 400 SE and 6XX, and it just sounds so right with nearly every genre of music. And the tuning here is quite remarkable, yeah? Instead of a gradual decline after 1 kHz, it opts for a roughly 5 decibel rise around 2 to 3K, which I personally really love. Some others may say it sounds too shouty, but they're wrong!
See what I did there?
A quick analogy will be comparing a raw photo versus one calibrated with just the right amount of brightness and contrast. Think of that as the K702. Even so, the 702 may sound a little bit sizzly and sharp at times, but just know that it's a minor nitpick in my opinion, and for the most part, you'll smile at how awesome music sounds with it. Trust me. By now you may be wondering why I rank the 400 SE above both the K702 and 6XX. Well, for one, price. I believe the planar sound to be just a tad superior to a dynamic, though my tests pretty much render it a photo finish. If I can help you save money and get this planar sound for just a shade over a Benjamin, I'm recommending one every day and twice on Sunday, homie! In other words, the 400 SE may have ever so slightly better timbre and resolution versus the K702 and 6XX, but it's really, really close. This is where the value aspect that I harp on so much comes into play. It seems Hi-Fi Man decided to do one of those market disrupting things that Sennheiser and Drop did with the 6XX, making it dirt cheap, and you know I'm a sucker for that type of thing. The 6XX has kind of ballooned in price over the last year or so, which is even more reason to perhaps consider the 400 SE instead. I mean, they're basically giving them away. In 2016, I paid a whopping $330 for an original made in Ireland HD600, but spending that much money nowadays simply isn't necessary anymore. At the end of the day, if you're new to this hobby, you could go with either of these 3 headphones and be a happy camper, granted you're after the type of sound signature that they offer, i.e. mostly neutral and clean. They're all super comfortable, built well, and perform admirably with most genres. They all also have pretty similar sound signatures with some subtle discrepancies that we discussed earlier. They all require some sort of amplification in my opinion as well, as they're inefficient, K702, 400 SE, and or have a high impedance, as in the case of the HD6XX. I'd say the K702 probably sounds the cleanest and most open/airy, while the 6XX snaps the best while possessing a darker sounding treble. The 400 SE tends to have slightly superior resolution and timbre, but the mid-range issue may bother you. The sound staging here can sometimes be a little bit too left and right as well. In other words, the 400 SE does not have nearly as good a soundstage as the K702. So there you have it. I think the 400 SE is most worth the purchase here due to price alone. Is this kind of a sleazy business tactic from HiFiMAN? Some would say yeah, and I could definitely see why. They're essentially price gouging in reverse by forcing people to consider just how preposterous it is to sell a mid-fi headphone for a measly $100. In other words, it demands your attention. People are always looking for a deal, so why not make your asking price something you'd find on the secondhand market? That to me is what's happening here, as these headphones are certainly worth more than $109. What do you think about the price of the 400 SE? Is it worth it? Would you rather have a K702 or HD6XX? Let's get a little debate going. Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to ask me about my grandchildren. Always have faith no matter what it looks like. And last but not least, don't ever give up.
And strange diction, but show never fiction. I'll leave you limp-wristed. On a scale of 1 to 10, I guess I'm gifted like Christmas. Prolific in a sense, I lost my innocence, but not my intellect. It's like I'm scrimmaging. I'll leave you in appendages, wrapped in synonyms that I'm assembling. I got the medicine for your adrenaline, that dope I'm peddling like Fallout.